I have got a story for you guys today that I guarantee you've never heard that's absolutely outlandishly mind-blowing. Let's get into it. It started with curiosity. The two men pried open an abandoned machine in a forgotten hospital in Brazil. They unknowingly unleashed death. What followed was a silent and glowing killer that spread through families and neighborhoods and even children, leaving behind one of the most terrifying radioactive disasters the world has ever seen. This is the Goiânia accident. Welcome back to Ross Gets Real, where we break down the news, tell stories that matter, and tell it all through a bold, unapologetic Christian worldview. September 1987, Goiânia, Brazil. In a poor section of the city, the crumbling remains of this health institution, an abandoned cancer clinic, sat quietly. Its locked doors hiding a deadly secret. The building had been vacated for 2 years, but what was left behind would change hundreds of lives forever. Two men, scavengers, looking through scrap metal, slipped into the shadows of the building. Their prize? A strange-looking machine, a therapy unit that had been used for cancer. They didn't know it yet, but this machine contained one of the most dangerous and radioactive substances known to man. After hauling the machine home, they began dismantling it. And then they saw it, a small metallic capsule, glowing faintly blue in the dark. They thought it was beautiful. They thought it might be valuable. But what they were holding was a literal death sentence. They were curious and they decided to crack it open. The glow intensified. They touched it. They passed it around. And within hours, they began vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, burns, all the worst things you can imagine. But they had no idea what they were dealing with. Still believing that it might be worth something, they sold it to a nearby junkyard. The owner, intrigued by its glowing dust, brought it home and let his family touch it. Even children played with it. One young girl rubbed the glittering powder on her skin like makeup. Days later, her body was riddled with radiation burns. The glowing cesium spread like an invisible plague. It contaminated homes, utensils, pets, clothing. People swept it into the corners. Some even ate near it. No one knew they were being poisoned. By the time the authorities realized, dozens and dozens of people were already sick, vomiting, bleeding, losing their hair and their skin peeling off. Some people were even dying at this time. 4 people would ultimately lose their lives, including that little girl, the 6-year-old girl that had been exposed to it. She was buried in a lead-lined coffin. Her body was so radioactive that her grave had to be sealed with concrete. As panic gripped Goiânia, the city, the government evacuated hundreds. Over 100,000 people sought testing for radiation exposure. Entire homes were demolished. Topsoil was scraped from the playgrounds. Junkyard dogs glowed under ultraviolet lights. This is a true story. And yet, the capsule was so small, only about the size of a soda can. But it had the power to contaminate everything in its path, everything it touched, for weeks. In total, more than 600 people were contaminated. Hundreds of tons of material, from furniture to entire buildings, had to be destroyed. And the emotional scars they left lasted far longer. The 2 scrap scavengers who had the machine in the first place, one died of radiation poisoning and the other lost fingers and suffered massive internal damage. The junkyard owner also lost his wife and his business, and entire families were left with cancers, genetic risks, and PTSD. The Goiânia accident wasn't caused by a bomb. There was no explosion, there was no war, just a forgotten machine, a glowing blue powder, and a series of innocent mistakes. And maybe that's the scariest part, how fragile the line between ordinary and nightmare truly is. If you found the story haunting, as we did, hit like and subscribe, please. It helps the channel. We're growing quickly. But what would you have done in this situation? Would you pick it up? Would you sell it? Would you run? I imagine most of us would flash back to some horror story like this in the past. One thing I wanted to add in from a theological aspect is what's called theodicy, or like the Holocaust effect, which is basically where someone asks the question, why does God allow evil? And I don't think that's the correct way to ask that question. That why does God allow evil? Why does God allow horror? It's not like that. Imagine you are in the Holocaust at a concentration camp. You're with a friend and you believe in God. You believe in the Lord God Almighty, Jesus Christ. And the person next to you is an atheist. Totally fine. They both die in the end, you and the other person. Who do you think had a better experience in the concentration camp? I would say likely the person that believed in God, because they had their hope in the afterlife, in the true grace through faith message that Jesus brings. Hey, God bless you guys. Again, I'd love for you to subscribe to see more videos. I'm doing them like every day. So trying to get you guys the most crazy, remarkable content out there. So God bless you. Stay prayed up. We'll see you soon.